Hi there. If you're watching this video, you probably have a need to remove, replace, or repair the interior freezer door or door hinge on a Dometic two-way fridge freezer with a single door on the outside, like this one. You might find this sort of fridge freezer combination in an RV, camper, or as they say in England, a caravan, or possibly even a boat. Before you start to work on your freezer door, please take a look at the parts that you'll be dealing with, how they work, and how they fit together. This will help you avoid any collateral damage to your freezer door repair project and help you avoid turning a small repair project into an expensive big repair project. When I tried to repair my freezer door, I followed instructions on many YouTube videos that suggested using a screwdriver to pry the freezer door from the wall of the fridge. And unfortunately, that created a crack in a very important part, which is the spring bolt receiver on the right-hand side. And I had to jury rig a replacement. So please be very careful and understand what you're doing so that you don't break the freezer door. Replacing the freezer door is about $130. And if your screwdriver pokes a hole in the wall of the fridge or you do some major damage to your fridge, replacing a Dometic two-way fridge like this one can cost you $1,000 or more. So let's take a look at how the freezer door interacts with the hinge assembly shown here. The hinge assembly has three parts. There's a spring casing or housing. This is usually what breaks when you have a door that just sags open. You have a spring, and you have a nylon bolt that sits inside the spring. It is important to know that the left side spring assembly is different from that on the right side. And that's because they have to be wound in different directions to keep the freezer door shut. So this part comes in a left-sided part, and the spring comes in a left-sided part, and it's different on the right side. Now you may have also noticed that there's a little bit of remaining yellow grease on the right-sided spring, and the left-sided spring has a little bit of remaining blue grease or blue paint. So keep those sides separate and order your parts based on what side they are. So just a word about the parts that you're likely to need. If you're like most people and you're watching this video because you have a freezer door that won't stay closed, that drops down and wastes food and energy, it's more than likely that you have one or both of these spring housings that are broken. Typically, these plastic parts get brittle and they get plastic fatigue and they break in a line on the arm right about there. The issue is that each of these parts, and there is a left and a right, each of these parts at the time of this video is currently retailing for $30. And I have a problem paying $30 for a new part that was already pretty minimally made and is likely to break again. So what I did is I re-engineered this part. And here's what I did if you look closely. First of all, I added extra material in every dimension that I could get away with. And also I have used a very special mechanically and thermally resistant resin. I have the links to the OEM parts in the description below. And I also have a link to my eBay site where I am selling a left and a right part for half of what the manufacturers are charging, and I'm including a free replacement warranty. The spring casing or spring housing shown here has two basic parts. There's the cylinder, which fits into a large hole in the wall of the fridge, and there's the leg. The leg is used to apply torque and to preload the spring hinge assembly. The leg also has a little protrusion that when the spring casing is in its final position, this protrusion will fit into a small hole in the wall of the fridge. Here's a close-up of the spring casing or spring housing, including the cylinder and leg, and the corresponding holes in the wall of the fridge that they will fit into when you have finalized your reassembly of your freezer door. You will notice that the nylon bolt has an X or a plus-shaped key on it that fits into the bolt receiver that is pre-molded into the freezer door. This allows the spring to transfer torque to help keep the freezer door closed. The spring also has a leg on it that fits through a small slot in the spring housing cylinder. This is what the spring hinge assembly looks like when it's fully assembled. Here you can see how the bolt engages with the bolt receiver on the freezer door to transmit torque from the spring to keep the freezer door closed. On some models of this Dometic fridge-freezer combo, the bolt receiver is actually a separate part that is attached to the freezer door. Now, my freezer door did not come like this. I used the screwdriver prying technique shown on some of the YouTube videos, and I ended up breaking the pre-molded spring bolt receiver that was on this door, so I had to replace it with a jury-rigged part like this. Don't make the same mistake I did. As far as tools you'll need for this job, don't forget some gloves and some eye protection because there could be some sharp plastic or metal flying parts. You'll need a medium-size straight-bladed screwdriver. And the real secret to this job is this tool here. It's called an air shim. It's basically a pneumatic shim that you can buy on Amazon or at a hardware store. I'll put a link in the description below. So now that you know the tools and the parts that you need and what to watch out for so you don't turn a small repair job into a big repair job, let's get started. Step one is to turn off your fridge and let it come to room temperature. This will make sure that those old plastic parts are as flexible as they can be and reduce the chance that you're going to break them. Open the outer fridge door as wide as you can, at least past 90 degrees to give you enough room to work. Step 3 is to open the freezer door if it doesn't already fall open on you. Then place the air shim between the freezer door and the wall of the refrigerator like that. Close the freezer door on top of the air shim. Then start slowly but firmly pumping the air shim so that you separate the freezer door from the wall of the fridge. When you have the air shim inflated enough, you're going to expose the head of the nylon bolt right there. Now all you have to do is use your medium-sized screwdriver to push the bolt into the wall of the fridge and disengage the bolt from the bolt receiver on the freezer door. This is a simulation of what it will look like when you use the medium-sized screwdriver to depress the bolt into the wall of the fridge. Depress the bolt in like that. That'll disengage the bolt from the bolt receiver, and then just pull out gently on the bottom right corner of the fridge. Next, release the pressure on the air shim and pull the bottom right-hand corner of the door towards you. Gently lift the door out of the fridge, and it should come out just like that. Unless they popped out because of the spring force, when you remove the door, you will have a left and a right spring assembly. Don't get them mixed up. Keep the left on the left side and the right on the right side. You should just be able to use your fingers to remove the spring assembly from the receiving holes in the wall of the fridge. So after making your repairs, it comes time to reassemble your freezer door and the hinge assemblies. All you have to do is place each hinge assembly into the wall of the fridge. When you install the door, you're going to install the door slightly ajar. So you want this spring housing in this position. Once the door is in place, you're going to rotate the right side upward until it locks in place when the protrusion on the back of the arm of the spring casing fits into the hole in the wall of the fridge, and it will lock in place. Similarly, on the left side, you're going to do the same thing, just in the opposite direction. So you're going to tilt this upward until the protrusion on the back of the arm of the spring casing locks in place in the wall of the fridge. Let's do that now. Take the left lower corner of the freezer door and angle it inward so that the bolt receiver engages the bolt. And when that's done, push it into the wall. Keep using the freezer door to put pressure on the left bolt while you depress the right bolt with your thumb or a tool. Gently position that right lower freezer corner until you feel the bolt receiver engage the bolt. You'll probably hear a little pop. At this point, the freezer door will actually be mounted on the hinge, but it will still fall open. The next step is to tighten the springs to keep the freezer door in the closed position. The way we're going to do that is rotate the arm of each spring receiver toward you and then lock it into place as I just showed you. You're going to need your thumb or your finger and probably a screwdriver for the last step. So here on the left side, I'm going to rotate the arm of that spring casing or spring housing upward. And in the very final step, I'm going to take the tip of the medium-sized screwdriver and gently push it into place. And here we are doing the same thing on the right side, just sliding that arm upward and then depressing it with a screwdriver until it slides into place, and you'll probably hear just a little pop. And now you should have a freezer door that opens easily and smacks satisfyingly back into place. Remember to check the description for a link to the tools and parts that you need. Remember that you have the option of using the manufacturer's OEM parts or upgraded re-engineered parts that you can find on my eBay seller page. Thanks for watching.